This build is... It's really stupid, but it is extremely fun and it is extremely strong. I've been playing this for the last couple of days. It's Flicker Strike Invoker Monk. It is... I think it might be one of the most fun builds I've ever played in any ARPG, PoE 1 or PoE 2. I'm not going to say it's the most fun build I've ever played in PoE 2 because I played a grand total of 2 builds. But as you can see, it performs super well in maps. It performs super well in very high density content like Breach. It is just, it's so stupid, but it's really good and really fun, and it's not overly expensive. And what's also nice about it is that it also has good single target. So if we look at this clip over here, we can look at a Doriani. This is a difficulty 3 Doriani kill that I did last night. I know that this build isn't fully optimized at this point, so this isn't like a full build guide. It's more of like a build showcase, but this is the point that I have it at. You can see difficulty 3 Doriani, it's doing pretty well. Main things I'm looking to add now are just more consistent big shocks and then applying exposure. I actually don't have an exposure application currently. Folks like Snube, he's been playing this since the game came out, so he's probably about a week and a half ahead of me in terms of progression. But I mean, even with this version not fully optimized, it is performing incredibly well. Here comes the coal. Give it a spank. Done. So that was difficulty 3. And like I said, not overly expensive. Super fun. Flicker Strike is a weird skill that you either love or hate. However, I must say, for people who played Flicker in PoE 1, Flicker in PoE 2 feels a hell of a lot better. I don't know, it doesn't give you the same headache that the one in PoE 1 did. So if you're dead set on not playing Flicker because you played in PoE 1, give this one a shot. It is extremely fun and satisfying to play. You get tons of explosions, tons of shocks, all of that. It's a good all-rounder. But on top of that, if you are interested in this, I do have a guide over on Mobalytics, which you can check out here. It has a leveling setup. So to level this, because it was my second character, I used a Twink setup, which means I was using unique items like Pillar of the Cage Guard, Grey Make. These are all very cheap, unique items. If I do find a really good monk leveling setup with 0 currency, I'll link it in the description. However, this setup will be linked in the description. So it's got the full leveling section, the way I did it. And then over here is the end game setup up to the point that I have it. This is subject to change as I further improve, optimize, and all of that. But the nice thing about having this over on Mobalytics is that as I make those changes, they will be instantly reflected on this guide instead of in the video. Videos you can't really edit after they've gone out. So once I play this more, I will do a full build guide. Like I said, Snube's a bit ahead. I'll probably have a chat with him, get some more ideas, maybe link his versions in the description. But all of it is explained right over here. That is linked in the description. Let's have a look in game. I can just go over some of the gear quickly. So for main gear, we're using a quarterstaff, looking out for high physical damage. Elemental damage is also good. Things like fire and cold damage is nice. As for suffixes, attack speed and then crit chance and crit damage bonus are all really good. We are scaling crit on this build, so that base crit and base crit damage bonus are both very nice. Then, amulet. I've opted for Serpent's Egg. This has made generating charges really consistent. So for those of you who don't know, in order to use Flicker Strike, which is the skill that causes you to like teleport between enemies and latch onto them, teleports and strikes 2 additional times per power charge. So you need to be able to generate power charges in order to use this. Using Serpent's Egg, gain an additional charge when you gain a charge makes gaining charges very easy. we're able to generate charges very comfortably by using Combat Frenzy over here. While active, grants you a frenzy charge when you freeze, electrocute, or pin an enemy. This can only occur once every few seconds. In this case, once every 0.73 seconds. However, if we combine that with Resonance on the tree here, it says gain a power charge instead of frenzy charges. So whenever we freeze, electrocute, or pin an enemy, we are gaining a power charge, which we can then use our Flicker Strike. There's another skill that we need power charges for, and that's our charged staff. This says consume all power charges to infuse your quarterstaff with electricity, adding lightning damage and a lightning shockwave to your quarterstaff attacks. Reusing the skill while the buff is active adds to the buff's duration and damage. So for this, we also need to use power charges and consume them. This, currently with the setup I have linked with Persistence, this lasts for about 1 minute and 20 seconds. So you just generate at the start of your map, you generate a few power charges and then pop this on. It'll last you about 1.5 minutes. And then the rest of your charges you'll be able to expend on Flicker Strike. Let's look at the other piece of gear. All the stuff to do with like rings, check out Mobalytics. I'll talk about the mods that we want, belt, life resistances, that sort of stuff. Gloves, you can get things like attack speed, resistance, leech, flat damage. Then helmet. For our helmet, it is nice to opt for an energy shield helmet because of this note on the tree that I haven't taken yet. Subterfuge Mask, +2 to evasion rating per 1 maximum energy shield on equipped helmet. If you can get like 300 energy shield on your helmet, that's a ton of evasion rating. And evasion rating is one of our, well, it is our primary avoidance layer on this build. So we're scaling evasion rating. You can see I've got a decent chunk over here. However, on our Ascendancy, we have and protect me from harm. Physical damage reduction from armor is based on your combined armor and evasion rating, 40% less evasion rating. So this converts our part of our evasion rating into physical damage reduction, effectively turning it into a form of armor. This is so good, so good, ridiculous. In terms of defenses, currently that is one of the weaknesses of this version of the build. However, later on, we're going to be scaling more into energy shield. We can get a huge energy shield defense layer. It means that when we get hit, we've got something to back it up. Currently only sitting at about 1,600 life and 1,500 shield. Bit low. I'm not dying that often. I've been flying up in levels much more easily than my mercenary that I felt had more layered defenses. But this thing just chains between everything, freezes everything, kills it so quickly. The thing that will kill you are ground effects. So as you flicker between enemies, what can happen is you flicker onto a rare enemy and then it explodes, does an on-death effect, and you're underneath it, and that is just dead. You will die. This build, you are going to die in ways that will either it's going to be hilarious to you. I find it hilarious when I die on Flicker, but I also, if you are someone who gets tilted easily, then you are going to end up in situations. Flicker is going to make you do stupid things. It's going to take you in the wrong direction, and you're gonna die in ways that you feel like you didn't have control over. So one important thing that you can do is you can actually cancel out of Flicker Strike. If you dodge roll while you are Flicker Striking, it will effectively cancel it. At the end of a Flicker Strike chain, it is wise to do a dodge roll out of it just in case you did end up on a monster that has some kind of on-death effect. But let me just show you how it plays, talk you through the play style. Turn this down. So hopping into a map, first thing, we have this Ice Strike. Ice Strike is the thing that we are using to initially develop those power charges. This is a very nice skill. So this will help us to freeze enemies. You can see we get our 3 power charges. We're getting an additional one from our Serpent's Egg. And now that I have a few charges, what I'm going to do is hit my charge staff. You can see now that's there. When I attack, now good things are happening. So now I'm generating power charges, and now I can flicker. There we go. Hit that flicker button. Still have tons of charges. And then you just need to keep an eye up here for your charges. You're not able to actually generate charges while you are flicker striking, otherwise you could just do it forever. But that's pretty much it. Open the map, generate your first few charges. Just keep an eye on your charge staff to make sure that you have enough. Refresh it once in a while. And then flicker. These guys, I hate these. These are the worst monsters. Try and get one of these thawing charms to grant immunity to freeze. But you just push that flicker button and you go flying. Let me just quickly demonstrate how to cancel a flicker. So as you can see, I'm flickering. If I roll out, it stops. It stops it. So if you feel like you're going in a very bad direction or flying toward a boss that's about to explode, hit your dodge roll and it'll pull you out of it. There's a few other things. Tempest Bell. This is a very important thing. So Tempest Bell, what this does is, let me pause. You build combo by successfully striking enemies with other skills. After reaching 4 combo, in this case, you can use this skill to drop a bell on an enemy. And then you can hit that bell. So let's find some enemies to hit. These layouts are horrendous. So we're going to have to hit it with our Ice Strike. We have enough combo and then we drop our bell, bong, and now we can hit the bell. So when you do meet a boss, what you want to do is get your Ice Strike up, get your Tempest Bell, drop the Tempest Bell, and then continue hitting with Ice Strike until you have enough charges to flicker. So there we go. Hit the Flicker Strike and kill half the map. Like I said, this build is very silly. I'm not even touching anything, man. You'll get to the point where you are more comfortable with Flicker Strike. When you first start playing it, it is chaotic and you often feel just out of control, which is extremely terrifying, but also hilarious because you will end up in very bad situations sometimes. But the more you get comfortable with it, the more you will either learn to embrace the flicker and just submit to it, let it take you where it wants to take you, or you will learn to control it yourself by dodge rolling out at the correct time. Making sure you have your charge staff up is very important. I will speak about why in a second. One other very important thing to chat about quickly is our other setup. So Wind Dancer, make sure you have quality on this. This is just providing us more evasion rating per stage. Read your gems, just double check what they do. But in terms of quality actually really matters on a lot of our skills. So this Ice Strike actually doesn't have quality, but if we get 20% quality, it grants us 10% more attack speed from the 20% quality. Tempest Bell grants us more hits before it is destroyed. That's also very nice. Ghost Dance, sometimes there are like hidden additional effects from quality. I must just double check this. Combat Frenzy, for this one, the 20% quality, what it actually does is it has a 20% chance to grant an additional charge. It doesn't actually show that. The reason I have this over here, let's just put this in so you can see. Let's pop that in. This is only 150% chance to grant an additional charge. The 50% is coming from Profusion. However, with 20% quality, you can see 120% chance to grant an additional charge. So quality on that matters, quality on Wind Dancer matters, quality on your cast on freeze. Someone in chat showed me this setup. Previously, I was using Herald of Ice, Herald of Ash, Herald of Thunder. However, this setup just feels much better for clear. So get quality on this. And this is very important. We have cast on freeze. We gain energy per power of enemies you freeze. With hits from skills, we are constantly freezing. And when we reach maximum energy, it casts Voltaic Mark. Marks the target, making them more susceptible to being shocked. When the marked target dies, a lightning nova erupts from their corpse. This nova does not use your weapon damage and instead uses its own base attack damage. So this, combined with energy retention and impetus, this will help this proc more often, and this is those big lightning chains that you see going throughout packs. So cast on freeze, very important. Herald of Thunder, also very important to get just more clear. And then your Flicker Strike, also quality is very important. Some of these links These are all linked on Mobalytics, like I said. Some of them are subject to change as I do more testing, but a lot of our auras are being generated by things on our Ascendancy. We have this over here, Lead Me Through Grace. Gain 1 spirit per 6 energy shield on your body armor and 15% evasion rating on your body armor. Cannot gain spirit from equipment. So I'm getting 118 from all of the evasion rating and energy shield on my body armor. So try and aim for high evasion rating and energy shields. That spirit I just happen to slam on. It doesn't do anything, but that is how we are able to fit in all of these auras and supports. So let's see. There's no boss on this map, but there's our charges. Use the charge staff, drop the bell, kill the monsters. That's pretty much it. Looking at the rest of the passive tree, I think let's start with the Ascendancy. So I've spoken about Lead Me Through Grace and Protect Me From Harm. But then we have I Am the Blizzard, gain 10% of damage as extra cold. On freezing enemies, create chilled ground. This is very strong. This actually helps us to freeze enemies more consistently, which works well not only with our combat frenzy, but with this cast on freeze. And then over here, sunder my enemies, critical hits, ignore non-negative monster elemental resistances. This is best for bosses. However, some maps you will get, some monsters will have very high resistances, and this effectively just ignores those resistances completely. So this will help your chains and your damage. It's very strong. Unbound Avatar, very good for leveling. However, I felt it's too inconsistent compared to something like Sunder My Enemies. So I'm really liking I'm the Blizzard and this one as my fourth one. I think you could probably either go this or this as your third or fourth. When you hit maps, grab these first just so that you have a bit of physical damage reduction. The rest of the tree should be fairly straightforward. It's grabbing things like crit and power charges and crit, resonance, a couple of dual sockets, more power charges over here, evasion rating over here, a bit of dex and Falcon technique for increased attack speed per dexterity. Over here, we're grabbing Coming Calamity. This gives us 50% increased damage while affected by the Herald of Thunder. And then more crit over here. And this big thing is very nice. So at the top, we have one with the river, 30% increased defenses while wielding a staff, which I am. This gives us 30% increased evasion rating and energy shield. Those count as defenses. And then increased freeze buildup with quarter staves and stun buildup. So this is allowing us to freeze enemies more regularly. And then at the bottom, quarter strike skills that consume power charges count as consuming an additional power charge. So that works really well with our charge staff. So we can get this buff maximized as quickly as possible. And also with our Flicker Strike, so we can flicker more. And then there's more power charge stuff. And then I'm at the point with the build where I'm just exploring defenses primarily. So evasion rating, energy shields. I think the more end game version of this build is going to look more like going over here to grab more energy shield. There's some more energy shield up here. So once we have a better staff, this staff I think costs me 2 divines. Once we have more damage and enough damage, we can take out a lot of the stuff that's around the tree to just get more evasion rating and energy shields. Currently, I'm sitting at about 42% with 400 crit multi. As for the Anoint, I know there are probably other things that are as good, if not better, but I'm currently using Tainted Strike, which is down here. Grants us 25% increase crit chance for attacks and 30% increased magnitude of non-damaging ailments, which includes things like chill, freeze, shock, electrocute. So we're getting bigger shocks. I am sure there will be someone in the comments like, hey, you should be using this or that or that. If I find something that's way better, just check Mobalytics. That will be updated. But yeah, like I said, I've only been playing this I've AFK'd probably a few hours one day, probably like 20 hours into this build. So a lot of testing to go, but I'm loving it. And I was very excited to share it just because I'm having so much fun with this build. It's like, I struggle to go to sleep at night because of this build. I just want to keep playing it all the time. Anyway, that's it. Links for the Mobalytics guide in the description. Follow me on Twitch. I'll be live very soon. Follow me on Patreon if you want to support the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that other stuff. Have a wonderful day. Catch you later. Take care and bye-bye.